This lesson is on computation with scientific notation. So we're going to learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide with scientific notation. This first picture here, this shows you the rules on how to do it. I'm just going to leave that there and we'll talk about them as we go along. So first we're going to learn to multiply and divide with scientific notation. So first we're just going to multiply or divide the decimals. So the first example we're multiplying, so we're going to multiply just the decimals. So that would be 7.2 times 1.6. What you do with your exponents is we're also going to multiply them. 10 to the third power times 10 to the fourth. So we kind of split them up into like terms. So 7.2 times 1.6 would be 11.52. And then when we multiply our tens here with our exponents, we just remember our exponent laws. When we're multiplying with the same base, we add our exponents. So this would be times 10 to the 3 plus 4. So I would get 11.52 times 10 to the 7th power. The only problem I have is that every answer in scientific notation has to only have a number in the ones place. In this case, I have a number in the ones place and in the tens place. So I've got to move my decimal point over 1. I want it to say 1.152. Once that happens, I need to change my exponent. And I'm going to move it up 1, so it's going to be 10 to the 8th power. Now I have a correct answer. So now we're going to look at dividing two numbers written in scientific notation. So it's going to be the same thing. We're going to divide our decimals, 4.64 divided by 2.9, and we're going to divide our base of 10 to our exponents, to our negative exponents in this case. So when we do 4.64 divided by 2.9, we would get 1.6. And the rule for dividing exponents is you subtract your exponents. So it would be 10 to the negative 4 minus a negative 6. Minus a negative becomes a plus. So negative 4 plus 6, that would equal 2. So my answer would be 1.6 times 10 to the 2nd power. That is a complete answer because I only have one number in the ones place. There's no number in the tens place. So that answer is complete. Okay, now we're going to talk about adding and subtracting with scientific notation. Before you can add or subtract, your exponent has to be the same. And we make our exponent the same by moving the decimal point. We can either move it to the left or to the right. Whichever way we move it, it's going to change our exponent, which is what we want in this case. So we can either change 10 to the 4th power or 10 to the 5th power. I'm going to choose to change 10 to the 5th power. What I want is a 10 to the 4th. That way it'll be the same as the first addend. So in order to get 10 to the 4th, I'm going to move my decimal point one place to the right. So it would become 92.4. And then since I moved it one place to the right, it would be 10 to the 4th power. So when I move it to the right, my exponent goes down. When I move my decimal point to the left, my exponent goes up. That's kind of the rule we're working with here. So now we have two numbers in scientific notation that have the same exponent. So I can just add. So I'm going to add 6.89 plus 92.4, and then my 10 to the 4th power stays the same. When I'm adding with scientific notation, once I have the same exponent, it just stays the same throughout the rest of the problem. So now I just have to worry about my decimals. So when I add them together, I get 99.29, and it's just times 10 to the 4th. The only problem with my answer is I have a number in the tens place and a number in the ones place. So I'm going to have to move my decimal for my final answer. I'm going to move it one place to the left, so I get 9.929. And since I moved it to the left, I'm going to go up with my exponent. So it would become times 10 to the 5th power. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract. It's going to be very similar to adding. The only difference here is they give us one number in standard form. So I just have to change that number in standard form to scientific notation before I can begin. So I'm going to move my decimal point over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So I get 1.161 times 10 to the 7th power. And then I can now subtract. Same rule as adding. I have to have the same exponent in order to subtract. So if I move my decimal point to the right, my exponent goes down. If I move my decimal point to the left, my exponent goes up. So I am going to change my first number here. I want to change that from a 10 to the 8th to a 10 to the 7th. So I'm going to move my decimal point to the right. So it's going to go over one place to the right. And I'm going to get 78.3. And then it becomes times 10 to the 7th minus 1.161 times 10 to the 7th. Now that I have the same exponent, I can just subtract my decimals. 78.3 minus 1.161. And my 10 to the 7th stays the exact same. When I subtract, I get 77.139 times 10 to the 7th. But again, I can't leave my answer like that because I have a number in the tens place. And I needed only a number in the ones place. So I'm going to have to move my decimal point over 1. So I get 7.7139. I moved my decimal to the left, so I'm going to go up with my exponent. So it would be times 10 to the 8th power. So my final answer would be 7.7139 times 10 to the 8th. Do these 4 practice problems in your notebook on the left-hand side. You may use a calculator to add, subtract, multiply, and divide your decimals. Just be careful with your decimal point and your exponents.